right?
Let's go, everybody.
Woo.
It is episode 32 of the Pickers Market Podcast.
Yep.
We are we got a full crew, but we're missing somebody here. For the first time ever, the Cal Ripken-esque streak has ended.
It's over.
The button pusher
The
is
button
out.
pusher is no more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
guess who got promoted over there?
yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God, I'm already sweating here. It's like it was not an easy way here.
Yeah, the leader of the pack over there. We're all going to end up dubbed in Spanish in some way, shape, or form here.
Yeah.
So we got Lisa Schreiber. We got David joining us. David, I always want to say, you when we first met, you told me your name was rhymes with omelet. And so I always want to call you David Omelet.
Yep.
Little
common.
Davy Omelet.
That's common. I tell you what, that's common.
There are worse names out there that you can be called.
Yes,
Not bad.
exactly.
I mean, that's
It's
fine,
not the worst
It's
thing
not
in the
worst,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's
I was like, how do you pronounce your name? It's like, it rhymes with omelet. I'm like, cool. And now I've got omelet in my head.
David Aamot. That's it.
And of course, we got Mr. Gangl here as well. So what do you think? We got 32 and 32.
Love it.
There's so many choices. So I got to start with the running back contingent, right? Because that's the number I think about when I think about running back.
Sure.
So just, you got to start with the OG, Jim Brown. Underrated Marcus Allen. Right.
Oh.
I don't feel like anybody, younger than 30 appreciates Marcus Allen that much.
I'm a fan favorite. I actually have a Marcus Allen jersey.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
KC
Wow.
or Raiders?
No, Raiders. That was
Raiders.
a little story behind. You want to hear that quick story on that?
Yep, I want to hear it all. Yeah.
Back when I was single, I had a lot of different jerseys, right? And one
I didn't
night,
see you as a jersey guy.
not just a handful of Vikings and this and that, and just when going out with the
Okay.
guys.
What you collect over the years.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
That,
Yeah.
that
It's a
was
classic.
That was in the discount rack maybe too as well. Marcus Allen.
Love it.
Costco discount.
but I was dating my wife at the time, and I don't know, some reason we were supposed to go out for a date or didn't, and I was kind of staying home or whatever. But then I ended up feeling better later on in the evening. I ended up going to a friend's party with my Marcus jersey on.
Yep.
And somehow she ended up at the same spot I did. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah. So it's kind of the Marcus Allen's kind of got a little bit of a
little taint to it, a little
taint
stain.
to it, but yeah. So got in a little bit of trouble, but my friends still bring up the Marcus jersey, Allen.
You had to run out of that place like
Yeah,
Marcus Allen.
pretty much. So. Good stuff.
Oh, that is quality. Well, you also have, I put in my notes here, the other guy, because I'm a little, I don't know where we go with that one, but, OJ Simpson did wear 32, and he was a very, very good running back. Let's just leave that there. But I'd be remiss to not talk about a little bit of basketball, because I'm not.
You are Mr. NBA.
Magic Johnson, man. You got to throw 32 out there.
For sure.
Yep.
Also, I didn't even think about, because I think about Shaq. I now think about him more as Laker, but when he was in Orlando, he also wore 32. So that's pretty good numbers there too. So
Solid.
you got top shelf. But David, we're old people, right? Listen to those people we just talked about, the 80s. What do you got for the new gen? Who you got?
Carl Anthony Towns.
That's
That's
okay.
that's the only.
It's the only 32.
Tyrann Matthew.
Yeah.
Safety.
Yes.
No.
Okay,
No.
I got you. Honey
Cat.
Badger.
Cat.
Yeah.
Overrated.
Wow.
Cat. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, he
Yep.
hits me with the overrated just immediately. This guy gets
wait,
traded
wait.
to New York. He's like, he's terrible.
Yeah. You gotta take him
Lisa,
off
what
the
do you
list.
got on this one? Anything at all, or you just want to move on?
And with this, I
Austrian.
hand it right back over to you, Jeremy.
That makes perfect sense.
That's good stuff. She hasn't
We're
been
gonna get you a number one day. You're gonna be
Right.
like this person, and we're gonna sit
Yeah.
here like, who?
I will have to come up with something.
Yeah,
So
it'll be-
and, maybe some weird soccer team
I'd
in Europe
love
that
it,
nobody
yeah.
knows.
Or maybe
I
a
come up with
skier.
a
A
name.
skier. Maybe they wore.
Oh, yes.
How about that, huh?
I
Something
never
like that.
thought about that. That's
Do
pretty
they-
big in
I
Austria.
don't know if they
Yeah.
have numbers.
Do they have the
marked.
triple
They
digit
have-
numbers too? Because
no,
oh,
they
okay.
just have double digits.
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Gotcha. I never knew what those tags.
She'll find one
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
I
Right?
will
Exactly.
find. I will find somebody.
Good. All right, let's get into it. Let's hot button it up. Nvidia reports. right? And so we're recording this before they report. So by the time many of our listeners hear this, might be completely old information.
Yep.
But obviously, probably, again, we talked about this last time they reported, but it's probably the most watched one at this point now, right? I don't think it's even particularly close about who would be considered like the bellwether of growth and what's going on in AI. So let's start with just what do we expect? It is we're going to have it this afternoon. Keith, why don't you kind of set the table for us?
Well, everybody's expecting a beat and raise, right? So what does that mean? I think the revenue estimates, that's what people are really focusing on, is around 33 billion. So
what's the year-over-year growth on that, roughly?
That is about 80-some%.
80-some% growth.
So if you look at the full year, what the estimates are, it's like 110%.
Yeah.
So it was like 150. Now it's going to, I think it's about 85% technically. And I think next quarter probably goes on to 75. So it's going down, right? A lot of large numbers as well.
Let's put some context on that though, right? Is that the largest company in the world or close to the largest company in the world? Where are we now?
I technically looked last night or this morning. It is the largest. It's
okay.
Apple and Nvidia, just so you know, are the two that
they've been battling
back
and forth, right?
Right now, I think it's at 7.2%.
Yeah. So the largest market cap in the world is expected to grow their revenue from last year nearly double, right? They're nearly expected to double.
Yeah. It's just insane the growth that this company has, and that's why the valuation is a little bit stretched. That's why it's considered, the leader in earnings, or that's why everybody's going to be focused on it. And so the expectations for, if you go back a few quarters, just so everybody knows, that they have been beating by about 2 billion on the quarter, right? If they're expecting 18, they did 20. If they're doing 28, they did 30. Last couple of quarters, it's been like 1.5 billion. Last quarter was actually a 1.2 billion, a beat. So if we do that same math, 33 billion, they should do 34 plus.
Okay.
If they don't, I think, say if they even come in line to less than $1 billion beat, I think that's a negative.
Yeah.
The bigger thing will be the guidance going forward.
Sure.
And so that's where we want to see them again beat by, estimates, I think, believe are around 37 billion. So they got to do 38 kind of for guidance. So there's a lot of pressure on them.
There is.
What we talked about maybe a couple episodes ago, I think there's less pressure on them now than maybe a quarter or two ago.
Yep.
Just because I think the market's starting to broaden out. So
gotcha.
Your thoughts on that?
I don't agree as much.
Yeah, I know.
I think there's a lot of pressure here, and I think so. Here's the thing. Here's what I would say, and I'm going to be interested to hear both your takes on this too, because from my side, here's what I would say is, I would say that it's not as much if they don't beat by a world beating amount, right? Because everybody kind of assesses what you're saying is that we're starting to see a little bit of slowdown. Maybe expectations have caught up to reality. So I don't see it as a disaster if they don't just blow out numbers. But if they were to miss for whatever reason, or miss guidance, or just miss expectations, I believe that would cascade into multiple areas, right? Because there's already this little bit of inclination of AI over the last year. What has it really done to improve much better, right? Is that we aren't seeing that step up function in there. And then you have secondarily, every one of these guys, the Amazons, the Metas of the world have said, we're spending like crazy on this thing, right? And so if Nvidia, for whatever reason, has a miss and just misses expectations on that, it just puts a lot of things into question. Like, where's all that money going? What are we doing differently? Why is this not growing? Why is this not accelerating? And I just think it cascades into others. So that's why I would say maybe their individual expectations aren't quite as high, but the ramifications of them having a miss could be pretty widespread. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's fair. But the only thing I'm looking at is, if you look at last year, what drove the overall market was Nvidia and the Mag 7. Now this year, the market's broadening out. So I think that there's other legs to stand on if they were to. I do think they are going to beat and raise. It just, maybe it's not going to be enough, where then the stock maybe acts a little bit negative. But I don't think that's going to be the scenario where it takes down the whole market like it would have 2 quarters ago. Okay. Just because the market's been broadening out. But I think you're right. I mean, people are going to question if the spending isn't, the Microsoft, the Copilot, these things like that aren't getting traction. Maybe they're not going to, buy as many chipsets. And then we have the other thing we haven't talked about yet is a new chipset coming out. It's called Blackwell. Yep. And there's some overheating issues. You guys can maybe touch on that if you read about it a little bit.
Reminds me of the old Apple when you held it to your phone and it was going to melt your
ear off, right? So again, there's some kind of noise out there that things aren't going to be perfect. So, but your largest market cap company, so you are very important and you are setting the tone for the market. But I do think it's a little different than it was a couple of quarters ago when they were the key driver. And if they missed, I thought that would absolutely tank the market. Whereas I think again, I don't think they're going to miss, but say expectations they don't meet, I don't think it's a complete disaster for the market. I do think the market's going to trade down, right, because it's so big. But I don't think it's going to potentially change the direction next year for the overall market.
Gotcha. Lisa, what do you think?
I'm more on your side that if they miss, or obviously if they miss, that will ruffle some feathers, but also if they if the commentary is more cautious, more negative, the guidance, and I don't know, it seems to me that the earnings call of Nvidia is nearly as dissected as Mr. Powell's speeches. It's like turning every word, what could it mean, what is like it's very like it reminds me of that. It's every word is dissected if we can see some clouds on the horizon or anything like that. So yes, because I think like you said, it has so many implications on other sectors, not only the AI and tech, but also other focuses, because it has such a big weight and such a large weight in the S&P.
Gotcha.
So it's excited what they will say, and especially what the guidance is and what their commentary is. And I think they need to be very careful what they want to send out to the market.
Sure. David, what do you got on this one?
Well, I think, the whole miss, I mean, it's like, if they miss, it's going to have cascading effects. With the Blackwell chip, from what I've been able to see, it looks as if that's old news. It doesn't seem like the overheating's an issue. Doesn't seem like that's going to be a big thing. And Blackwell, as far as the large data centers go, it's not really they don't have a competitor, right? AMD's closest competitor is like still not even close, right? They don't have the transistors to compete. So I think Nvidia is going to stay on top. I think they're going to I don't see them falling anytime soon.
Yeah, and then I mean, you're kind of where we're getting around is now as a PM, how do I position all the stuff we talked about? More importantly, I own Nvidia, I like Nvidia, but I own less than the overall market. Again, once the overall market's at 7.2, I own close to that, but I don't own as much. So if I was super thought this was gonna be the best thing since sliced bread, I would be at a 10% position or something like that. I'm not there because I do think the market is broadening out, and I think there's other opportunities. So we'll see. But I mean, I certainly don't want to see a miss by any means, and that's gonna be bad for the overall market and returns. And now starts to question everything that's been driving the market for the last 18 months. So it's an important report.
Quick tangent. Why is sliced bread so cool? Why haven't we done anything better than sliced bread in a long time?
Lisa, do you know any?
That's new to me.
That was a new
slogan.
We found another new slogan. Another new saying. Best thing since sliced bread. Again.
Well, the old
translate that for me a little bit.
Well, I assume back in the olden days, you had a loaf of bread, right? It wasn't sliced, so it was probably a pain in the.
Okay, so sliced bread was a little bit more valuable.
Oh, right. I mean, all of a sudden you go to the store and you don't have to be cutting yourself
makes totally
anymore,
sense.
Right? Sliced bread.
No, it really you can.
It's
you
in
can
my
say
archive
it's one
now,
of
and I will use it.
There you go. Yeah.
Just a fun fact. We seem to teach Lisa some. Different
exactly.
Thing.
Yeah.
The team is having a lot of fun with me.
The old Midwestern slang sayings that we always throw out there.
Yeah.
Lisa just looks at us strangely, and we love it.
Sliced bread. I thought we're talking about stocks, not bread, right?
Well, and it was about a second ago. So let's all here's a reference they probably won't get. Let's throw the Doc Brown future hat on. Do you guys know what I mean by that at all?
Yeah.
No, is it Back to the Future?
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Got it.
Good.
All right. Good.
Yep.
Because that was probably 20 years before you were born.
Probably, yeah.
Jeez.
Wow, lucky.
Anyway,
Same
moving
with Lisa.
on from that depressing fact. So let's put our Doc Brown hats on. Let's talk about the future here a little bit. So David, you hit on it a little bit already, but Gangl, I'd be interested to hear what's your most likely competitor to Nvidia. Where's their leadership as we look forward? Will it be any closer in a year, or is the lead that much bigger for them?
Yeah, I think David touched on it there. I think AMD is their next competitor, but I do think they're not close. And I think if you look out a year, they'll still be behind. So, I mean, the difference maybe in a year from now is maybe they have it good enough that the data center guys that are doing all the spend will will accept a cheaper, slower alternative.
Yep.
So that could happen, and I think that's probably what eventually happens. But they're the leader right now, and everybody's chasing them, and no one's catching them, and they're in the pole position. So I still, David, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, same. Yep. I mean, what, they're 12% market share? It's not even close.
Okay.
Compared to Nvidia.
Yeah.
Yep. So
And I mean AMD, and I had that also in my head as the closest competitor, like you touched on it. And they just came out with a new chip that is seen as a competition to the Blackwell chip. And I wrote the name down. MI325X is the name of the new chip that should rival Blackwell.
Catchy.
I have no idea what marketing guru came up with this glorious idea.
I love it, Lisa.
What is that?
I love that take on it. Yeah,
This is awful, right? How should that take flight? But again, it's like the demand is there, and Nvidia said that the demand is there. We saw it with the CapEx spending, with all the tech companies. The thing that I see, or a probable issue maybe down the road, is the innovation, the supply they're able to get. And if they are not able to keep up with that, then maybe companies are looking elsewhere, which could be AMD then.
Okay.
And I think for time going forward, it's still the poster child. It's still the gold standard is Nvidia.
Okay.
But I think it's more of a, and we see it with the new chip releases now with the Blackwell chip. The iterations between the chips get faster and faster because competition is not sleeping, and we saw it. So they have to innovate faster, and after the Blackwell chip, there's probably the next one already in the making or nearly done. It's getting harder going forward to keep competition at distance and to keep up the innovation and to keep up the supply. So that could be some clouds going forward.
Yeah, and
AMD could have an avenue of gaining market share there.
Yeah, and for stock performance, it's funny. You think that they're both in the AI business, and actually AMD's down this year, right? S&P's up, say 25%, trailing the market. Nvidia's up almost, I think, on a trailing 1 year number, I think it's almost 200%. I think on a year to date, it's like over 150. So, I mean, that's just the spread. Now, I don't think that continues. That's where I talk about eventually. I think AMD can please stock performance wise play a little catch up. Yeah. I don't know. Technology wise, I don't think they catch up in a year.
Okay. Got it. You mentioned poster child, Lisa. So I want to give this to you because I want to tangent off of that. Certainly, I would call Nvidia the poster child of AI-oriented growth, right? So we think their chip lead is absolute. Seems pretty unanimous here that nobody's catching them up right now, at least not that we can see. But are they still the poster child for AI, or do we pivot to something else with regard to a chip company being the poster child for AI and changing to another company being the poster child of AI? I'd be interested to hear your thought.
I mean, we heard a little bit lately, even more about the energy supply that the data centers, who is getting the energy for that basically, and that we are focusing more on nuclear, and that is getting in trend again. And I think for years nuclear was just out of favor, and now it's getting in again because we need to get the energy from somewhere, and that is the avenue that gets us the fastest where we need to be. Also when it comes to what we have already set up and what can we actually use fast. So I think companies in that area will get more attention going forward.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. Gangl?
Yeah, I would say just other technology companies. I would say like an Amazon, a Meta, all the services that they provide. I think it's going to be this AI stuff behind the scenes. It'll be like, oh, you're buying this, you're buying this, you're buying. It'll make things a lot more convenient for you. So I think Lisa's right. So there's other companies. So I think obviously they're going to still be one of the leaders in the AI space, Nvidia that is, but I think there'll be other names that are just as good to play it, the AI trend on. So and that's where I think it'll change here in the next year. And I think we'll see it. I mean, this quarter will be important to see if, I think it's a little too early for that to happen right now, but I think there'll be a transition that, you look 2 years from now, it'll be Nvidia with a bunch of other names.
Gotcha. Interesting. David?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down nuclear as well, like just with Lisa, and I'd love to see like under this new administration, if we get government spending on nuclear, if we get more promotion away from like wind, solar, all the stuff that's not gonna power these data centers, right? There's like right now, they're just the infrastructure's not there.
Gotcha.
So yeah, nuclear, I'd love to see where that goes, how that trends out.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
My interesting take on that is I think at some point in time, maybe these chips get a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
Yep.
So power is going to be maybe. I think that's where it could be a curveball. What
Stole
you
my
guys
thunder there a
did
little
you?
bit.
Yeah,
too.
I figured you and
Go
I.
ahead.
Kinda
I'll let you. I'll let you
No,
have it.
I just think it's with there's usually innovation. You try faster chipset. I think the speed is there now. Now it's the heating, the overheating, and it's the same thing you talked just about it, the Apple where you're too hot for your handset, too hot for your pocket. I think maybe in another year and a half, 2 years, we'll have another development that reduces that energy need. Your thought on that?
I'm gonna counter our younger contingent here and say I think the energy argument is bunk. I don't believe it. The reason why I say that is I believe in efficiency becoming the next wave, right? We have been in a horsepower mode here for a while, and we could continue to be on horsepower mode for a while, but that doesn't tend to be that can't go exponential, right? Because we just can't service that. So the next wave of whoever takes Nvidia, or if Nvidia can sustain their lead, is based upon who can do that similar power or better power at a much lower efficiency. And guess what? The energy guys won't play in that. So that's where I see that as a pivoting component of it. What I would like, I think the biggest chance for Nvidia to be upset would be somebody bringing a consumer facing product that actually changes how they behave. I think Apple would probably be my most likely candidate to do something there. I don't think their early onset is there by any stretch of the imagination.
Just wanted to say
but somebody, exactly. Somebody that changes behavior. I think that's your next wave of a company. And I don't think that's business to business. I think that has to be a person doing something different than they used to do in the past, because AI has allowed them to do so. I have no idea what that is, but I would say that that's where probably my next wave is this changed behavior. So now everybody is going to adapt to that as a result. That is not a horsepower argument. That's not an energy argument. That's a consumer use argument. I think we get there at some point. I haven't seen any evidence of that yet. So Nvidia may stay the poster child.
Yeah, and that's where I was throwing in Amazon and Meta. I think those are the two that
with
Apple.
Shots.
I mean,
I think Amazon's
those three
got a
are
great shot. In just doing, because they've got AWS, they've got the web services component, they've got that outsourcing component, they've got the retail. I think they can do some, and they also are huge advertisers, right? Let's not forget that Amazon is a massive advertiser. So from that side, they have a lot of shots on goal that they could change behavior based upon AI oriented outlooks. And I think that they would have just as good a shot. I say Apple just because everybody carries an Apple device in their hands, right?
Are you two Apple users?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, I have
Unify across the board here, right?
I mean, when it comes to innovation, they were not that upfront on top over the last years. When it comes to
no one
bringing
cares,
out something really new, right? It's just doing something better, but not introducing something new. But to your point, that can change, or it's not Apple, maybe it's another company, and that's actually a good point too.
Yeah, I don't have the company that's going to do it yet, but that's what I'd be interested in seeing. So I'm going to put you all on the spot here. You can answer this very shortly. What is more likely? Nvidia doubles from here, the price doubles, or the price gets cut in half? I'll go with you, Gangl, first.
Just perspective, it's 3.6 trillion.
Yeah.
So to double it'd be 7.2. That's a tough hurdle. So I would lean on, but getting cut in half, I don't think is realistic in the next term. That's a hard one. Boy,
I don't make them easy, man.
I'm gonna go double it, but then I don't think it's going to be a whole lot higher than where it's at now. Put it that way.
You think double over a long period.
Yes.
Right? That's what you would get. More likely to double than get cut in half, but over a long period of time.
Exactly. So I don't see it getting cut in half either anytime soon.
Okay. David?
I mean, I agree. I didn't think it was going to double. And then I look back at 2014. What were the three of the top five largest companies in 2014? It was Apple, Alphabet, Microsoft. Apple's up 6x from there. So I'd call for a double before I call for a cut in half.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa?
In that case, I go the other way around.
Okay. Look at that. The devil's advocate over there.
I would say nothing of those situations anytime soon. Neither double or cut in half.
Sure.
But I think when you look at over the long term, we have competition rising. We have, like you say, maybe a broadening out what the AI play will be over the next years. Maybe it will be somebody else than a chip player or more chips coming out, more efficient, a little bit of different take on it.
Mhm.
Maybe Nvidia misses that innovation there, and somebody else is gaining traction. So I would say there's too much going on that I would see a double from here.
Yep.
So
Got it.
I would
Sure.
I also don't see a cut in half, but I would give it maybe a little bit more weight than the double from here.
You?
Yeah.
I'm cutting in half.
I'm not going to put much context on it, but if in the next 2 years, I would say it's more likely cut in half. And the reason I would say that, then doubling. And the reason I would say that over the next 2 years is, again, it's hard for me to fathom that 7.2 trillion. Because if that doubles from here and the market doesn't do that amount, that is, I mean, it is by far, no, I mean, it's 11% of the index, right? Or 12, maybe even 13% of the index. That's tough for me to fathom. It's possible, but it's tough. What is a little bit easier for me to fathom is they stumble for whatever reason. And we know with chip companies, right? When they stumble, their earnings get cut by 30, 40%, right? So all of a sudden you're on a 30 times multiple right now, right? Well, if that's cut in half, that's a 60x multiple. So if it gets down there, you could have a 30, 40, 50% decline from current levels if they screw up. That's an if they screw up. So I think there's a chance that a bigger chance the next 2 years that they could screw up rather than double. That's why I would put it as cut in half.
Yeah, it's, again, I don't think they're going to be a whole lot different than they are now. I'm in the similar camp. I just don't. That's a big downside.
It's a huge downside. That's why I put it on there. I just wanted to see where our heads were at on that. And both of those scenarios, especially in the next couple of years, are probably not going to happen.
It's like 7.2. That's
both of those are very unlikely. Those are the tail risks, right? Tail growth and tail decline. I just think that if I were putting a probability on it, I'd put it on tail decline.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay. Cool. All right, let's move on from Nvidia. I think we beat that horse to death. Old versus young. You know, we've got a good contingent here. I mean, not that, you know, Tyler's young too, so we can always do that. But we've got the real young in here today.
Oh, thank you, Jeremy.
Exactly right. That's you. And we got David too.
Yeah, David too.
But let's talk about gold and crypto here a little bit. I know it's, you know, probably for Keith and I, it's probably not our number one conversation, if you will, because is it fair to say, Keith, have you invested in either in your career?
No, and funny thing, I looked at Bitcoin was at like $500 back in the day, and I couldn't get my head wrapped around it. I still can't, but I'm more there now than I used to be.
Sure.
And now that it's ETF form, I actually was literally about 3 months ago looking at buying it in my personal account.
Gotcha.
Just didn't do it, and I still think there's a lot of volatility, but I think I will.
Okay.
So that I'm definitely
You're getting closer.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where I'm at with that.
So here is where I want to start with this. And I don't know if I made this up, but I love it. And so if I stole it, I apologize. But I thought about an adage the other day that only the old buy gold and the young buy crypto. Now, I've never owned gold. Have you ever owned gold?
No.
No. So neither of us have ever, we don't fit that adage, but nonetheless. But I want to start with this question for you too. The younger generation, do you guys even think about gold as an asset class, as a potential allocation, or has crypto completely taken over from the people who would potentially invest in gold that are younger than, let's say, like 40?
I think crypto dominates it, but I think gold has become more accepted by younger people.
Okay.
But I think people turn to crypto more. And I think people get their investment advice from the news more than anything else. So crypto's in the news, they're going to invest in crypto.
Okay.
And they can't delineate between, you know, just pure speculation and actual investing. So,
yeah. What do you think, Lisa?
So what I see out there is, and that is especially with the last month, the discussion of crypto people and people that are, you know, just influencer, if you will, crypto influencer, that I say, okay, crypto is moving into the direction to be seen this as gold, basically, like an inflation hedge and diversification, and that it does different than the market.
Yeah.
And basically that's the same. I don't think it is.
Okay.
Because still gold you can touch, and that's a huge psychological thing.
Interesting.
That I think people underestimate there. And I have exposure to both Bitcoin and gold in a physical way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and especially, and you know, in Austria, I work with as an advisor
Yep.
with especially retirees and older people as well. And there is something to it that gold does with people.
Okay.
They have it hopefully in their wallet. They can touch it. They know it's there. Especially older people, they all, some of them faced the years after the war and all of that where things kind of got really bad. So they still have that thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think it's a psychological thing.
Do you think your age contingent has that psychological thing?
No.
Not as much. I don't think so, because we haven't faced that hard times, I would say, where that would have been prevalent. But I think the younger generation is still seeing gold as a way to diversify. I think that's still there, but probably the younger generation does it more with ETFs.
Yeah.
And is more fine with not having the physical asset in the vault.
That's what I was
than
going
the
to go.
older generation. I think that's the difference between young and old when it comes to gold here.
Yeah, just think about this. I'm gonna change that up. Can you touch with regard to owning a stock of Meta?
Right.
What do they
yeah,
actually give you? That's all a surface-based product, right? I think the younger generation is fine with that. I don't think they need to touch anything in order to invest in it anymore. I mean, that's
like banking and online banking, right? Same type of deal.
Exactly.
It's like to your point, it's less and less. I mean, I think in the last 2 years, I can count on one hand how often I had a dollar bill in my hand.
Yeah. Well, you're talking to the wrong guy over there.
I do everything online. I do not even know how money feels anymore.
Johnny
right?
Cash
like,
over here.
Johnny Cash it is.
So
always gotta have a little bit of
and that's also the difference between younger and older generations, right? It's like the physical thing and which gets less and less with the younger ones.
Totally get it. Gangl, what do you think of this? That crypto is just gold without the history.
Oh, that's a good question.
Wow.
It could be. I mean, I think Lisa got some valid points of being touch and hold it. So it's there's probably a little different use than gold with crypto. I think crypto is more on the fact that everybody's printing money and debt levels, and I think it's just an alternative that way. So I think it's a little different. Going back to, I forgot to say that I was looking at Bitcoin ETF. But I also was looking at Costco selling gold. Bars. I've been watching that for the last 6 months, and
I mean that flies off the shelves.
I keep on missing.
You're
So
absolutely right.
I will. I just want to buy a couple just for that.
Are you gonna display it?
No, I'll just put it in my
Is
safe.
there Costco printed on it? You do it for that
No,
reason, Keith.
that would be cool.
Be honest.
Because I thought about buying, back to the conversation about gold, the physical, some coin, something like that. But it's like, well, where do you can go to the mint, you can go online, stuff like that. But Costco is like, for my branding, it's just like, that's solid if it's coming from Costco.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna put a bow on the Costco gold brick that Gangl's gonna have. That's good to know. All right, let's transition to something fun here. Let's talk about spaghetti wall. Let's talk about Thanksgiving faves. Let's do it fairly quickly here, but I want to start with turkey. Give me over, under, or properly rated. Lisa.
Overrated.
Okay.
I agree. Overrated.
Solid. Underrated.
Okay. Turkey's terrible.
Boy.
Carl Anthony Towns.
Turkey's
Thanksgiving.
Turkey's off. Like we've gone to beer can chicken.
It's just dry.
I make beer
It's
can
just
chicken.
dry. It's
Yeah. So we have visitors coming in, and they might be turkey people. So I may have to make a turkey, but outside of that, there would not be turkey in my house.
Come on, you guys gotta make it right.
Nah,
Deep fry it.
Yeah.
It's not
well, no. I've always seen those videos of things just exploding.
Me and my two brothers. Pretty much what happened.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I saw videos of that.
Oh,
Is
Gangl.
not Minnesota the main turkey provider of the U.S.?
Well, I guess I'm disparaging
support
my
your home
brethren.
state.
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly. You can't take me anywhere. All right, give me non-traditional Thanksgiving food, like something that's not, it's not the mashed potatoes, it's not the gravy, it's not the turkey. What do you like? Got one, Lisa?
So for me, everything is untraditional because I didn't know that
makes
Thanksgiving
perfect sense.
tradition.
But it's true.
And last year we did a Friendsgiving, a week before Thanksgiving, and a friend of me brought cranberry salad, Minnesota cranberry salad, and that was the first experience with Minnesota salads that aren't really salads.
It's not salad at all.
Because there was marshmallows in it, Cool Whip, cranberries, and I was like, okay.
In what way, shape, or form does this fit as a salad?
Is that real or is that a joke? But it was real, and it kind of, I hate to say it, but it didn't taste that bad
Yeah,
actually. It's
I mean, you're
but
right.
that was
You're
for
right. My
me
wheelhouse
at least
there.
very untraditional, not for Minnesotans, but
Yeah. Prime rib.
Prime rib.
Wow.
That's
Whoa.
It's good.
Okay.
Like I said, I love Thanksgiving, so I'm traditional food. The one that we have, our family just absolutely loves. I'm a German background, is like German dressing or stuffing. So it's like not just the
Yep.
a lot of bready stuff. It's got a ton of meat in it.
Yep,
That's our wheelhouse. That's
Interesting. So I gotta have a 2-second story on this. Is that I don't really have a great non-traditional food, but one time we may have imbibed a little bit the night before, and the next day we had like 10 a.m. White Castle sliders.
oh my god,
Before Thanksgiving.
That must have been a wild night when you turned
I
to
gotta
White
tell you
Castle.
though, it tastes pretty good.
No, that's terrible.
That's awesome.
Come on.
At 10
I
a.m.
had to give it. Yeah, it was a low point in the old Jeremy life cycle, but nonetheless.
You might as well just hang this podcast up. After that.
All right, give me one quick favorite side or dessert. Let's just go around here. Let's close with that. Lisa?
When we say with the traditional US Thanksgiving desserts, I think you cannot do anything wrong with apple pie.
Okay.
I agree.
Base apple pie.
agree. Apple pie.
Yeah, Lisa and I had
Yep.
this conversation yesterday. I'm a big pie guy, so whether it's apple or pumpkin,
No.
solid pumpkin pie too.
Wow,
Nice.
we end in exact we end in unison because
Wow.
apple pie.
Yep.
I will tear apart. Well, both pies actually. I'll do a pumpkin too. So pie is a solid finish to a Thanksgiving meal, and that is a solid finish to the podcast. So let's end it there. Thank you very much. Tune in, like, and subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we'll see you next time.